This is quiz 11, where we're supposed to calculate some more derivatives. This time you had the quotient rule and the product rule. So you were supposed to differentiate the function f of x equals x cubed plus 2x multiplied by e to the x. So you could multiply this out, but that's not going to save you. You're still going to have a product rule. In fact, if you multiply it out, you can see that you're going to end up with two product rules. So you might as well leave well enough alone and just bite the bullet at this point. Which is a good example of why you should think about something before you do it, because sometimes it's much easier to multiply things out and then take derivatives, but like in this case, it's not a good idea. But you don't know unless you think about it for a moment. So it's worth your investment of a few seconds to look at the problem and think of your strategies in how to attack it. Okay, so in this case we go with the product rule. So it's the first times the derivative of the second, and everybody knows that the derivative of e to the x is e to the x, plus the second, which is e to the x, times the derivative of the first. Notice I wrote times parentheses. The dot by itself does not do it. You need the parentheses. So the derivative of the first is 3x squared plus 2. No problem. And that's pretty much good enough. I mean, I'd have to be pretty annoyed to take off a point from here. But it does simplify a little bit if you factor out the e to the x. I mean, I would, because I see that there's an e to the x there. And it's likely that something good is going to happen. Actually, I take it back, nothing really good is going to happen. You're going to get x cubed from here, and 2x from here, and 3x squared. I'll write it that way, 3x squared, because I like descending exponents. And then 2x, and then 2. So, yeah, this might be a tad simpler, but no, I could not possibly take off for not doing this. The grader might, but I'm not. Okay, so much for number 1. Number 2, you were supposed to differentiate y equals x squared over 1 minus, sorry, that's x cubed. Can't even read it. X cubed over 1 minus x squared. So you have y equals x cubed over 1 minus x squared. Okay, so it looks like we got to use the quotient rule. So it's the denominator, 1 minus x squared, times the derivative of the numerator. Derivative of x cubed is 3x squared, minus the numerator, x cubed, times the derivative of the denominator. The derivative of 1 is 0. The derivative of minus x squared is minus 2x. That takes care of the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. And then all of this is divided by 1 minus x squared, the denominator quantity squared. And often here something is going to simplify, so let's go ahead and try that. If you multiply this out, 3x squared times 1, and then 3x squared times minus x squared is minus 3x to the 4th. And then you're going to get minus makes it plus 2x to the 4th. And that's all divided by 1 minus x squared squared. There's no reason on earth to ever multiply that out. Leave it alone. And then it's clear that you've got some x to the 4ths that are going to consolidate. So you're going to be left with 3x squared minus this 3x to the 4th plus 2. It's minus 3 plus 2. Looks like it's going to be minus x to the 4th. So that divided by 1 minus x squared squared, and I don't see anything else that's going to happen. You could factor out an x squared, but that's not going to do you much good. 3 minus x squared isn't going to help cancel anything from here. So this is a perfectly good answer. Right? That takes care of number 2. Then number 3, you were supposed to find f, well, we had a couple of things, but we were first given some information. We were given that f of 5 is known to be 1, and f prime of 5 is known to be 6, and g of 5 is known to be -3, and g prime of 5 is known to be 2. And with all that information, we're supposed to calculate f g, which means f times g, at 5, prime at 5. So what does this mean? This means the derivative of the product of f and g. Well, how do we calculate the derivative of the product at 5? Well, first you've got to take the derivative of the product at x before you can plug in 5 and know what to do. So the derivative of a product is the first, f of x, times the derivative of the second, that would be g prime of x, plus the second, which is g of x, times the derivative of the first, which would be f prime of x. So that is the formula for f times g as a function, the derivative of that at any x. So now you're in a position to calculate from here what the derivative is at 5. You just replace each of these by 5. So f of 5 is 1. G prime of 5 is 2. And g of 5 is negative 3. And f prime of 5 is 6. So that comes out to be 2 minus 18 or minus 16. Right? And the last question was, the last part of that problem was g divided by f prime at 5. So again, before I do that at 5, let me do it at x. So we have to use the quotient rule. So it's going to be the denominator times the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. And all of that has to be divided by the denominator squared. This is a good reason why you shouldn't memorize letters. I mean, you can go low D high and high D low and all that. That's fine, because low and high mean, you know, the top and the bottom. I've got it memorized in terms of denominator and numerator. I don't care how you do it, but don't memorize U's and V's and F's and G's, because someday somebody's going to do this to you, or they're going to put something like this, you know, and then you're going to get all mixed up with which one's U and which one's V. So I don't go there. It's denominator times derivative of the numerator, etc. And F is in the denominator, so that's where I start. Okay, so if I want G divided by F prime, the derivative, at 5, then we just plug in. F of 5 would be 1, and G prime of 5 is 2, and G of 5 is negative 3, and F prime of 5 is 6. And all of that is divided by f of 5 squared. So f of 5 is 1, so that's not too hard, 1 squared. And we can calculate that. Actually, you could just leave it this way and I'd give you credit for it. 2 plus 18 is 20 divided by 1. And that's your final answer. And that's it for quiz 11.